Hi everyone. Today we have a guest. His name is Clydes, and he's an Amazon expert. He's young entrepreneur, and he has his own company, AMZ Bees. He provides services and a lot more. We will ask him about all about him, and today we'll get some pro tips regarding Amazon selling and much more. So, Clydes, first of all, thank you very much for giving your time and welcome to our group. Please let our audience know about yourself, how you start your journey, and you are a young entrepreneur, so you can be helpful for other youngsters who want to be entrepreneurs and sell the services. So, up to you.
Awesome. Thank you for having me, first of all, and for the introduction. Yeah, there we go. Awesome. We got adjust the camera settings a little bit. Um, so hi everyone. My name is Clydes. I run the AMZB's Amazon Accounts Management Agency. So my story kind of started technically quite a long time ago. So I spent a third of my life in this field, in the Amazon field. So I started about 7.5 years ago. I was around 15 years old. So I'm now 23 years old. So I started with my parents' business. My parents at that time they had multiple businesses, and one of them was manufacturing. So I'm from Lithuania, and they had a manufacturing facility in Lithuania, and they created and manufactured very unique products with quite a large assortment of variations. And so basically, 7 years ago, I started with an account with 400 SKUs that no agency would take on. First of all, it was account right from the scratch, and it immediately kind of took my interest, like this particular field, the Amazon, the e-commerce. Even though before then I never bought anything online, like I didn't even know you could actually buy things online. I mean, back then I was like 15 years old. I was kind of still collecting bottle caps and whatnot. I was still kind of going to some party and tutor studying in school. So it was definitely a new thing for me, the Amazon, the e-commerce space overall. But I was good at math, I was good in English, and my parents, I was already working in their business, but 95% of the things that I was doing is all manual, hard labor for storekeeping, for kind of sales, but it's still a lot of manual labor. So they promoted to me to the e-commerce manager. So manager of one person myself, for the Amazon channel.
Okay.
And within 2 years, we reached seven figures in revenue. We back then we had like 40% profit
In
margin.
3 years or one
In
year?
2 years. So in 2 years we
Two
reached
years.
seven figures of revenue. Yeah, and
Oh,
it's something to mention is like that particular niche. Like it's a small niche. So in 2 years we kind of dominated the our small market in the U.S.
okay.
And after those 2 years, one year was mainly like a gap because I was in the military. We have like a volunteer service thing there in Lithuania. It's about 9 months. So for those 9 months, every weekend when they would let me go home, I would go home and kind of just work with Amazon.
Right.
So after military, I started studying IT, and this is where my career as an Amazon specialist, expert, service provider, all that thing kind of began. So really started engaging in my local community. I was already part of the meetups, like 20, 30 of us in the meetups. And the community organizers, they organized like the biggest meetup in the country, 120 people. And I was invited to speak there. And my whole angle was I literally just presented what I did, just the technical things. Like I wasn't talking about strategy. It was like 2018. I was talking just the technical account management things that I was doing for the past 3 years with that account. And my career kind of took off from there. Started doing consulting. People just started coming to me. I didn't really do any outreach or anything like that. I was still a student, and people started coming to me from Lithuania, from the circle, from the community, and I kind of started just engaging a lot. I started commenting. I started posting a lot of technical posts in Lithuania. For that small community, we're a country of 2.5 million people, so it's a small country.
Okay.
So after that, the next year or two, I was featured in pretty much all of the major media outlets, the radio, the TV, and all that stuff. I'm talking about Amazon because media loves young faces that
Yeah.
are trying something interesting, and I think my agency started in 2019. Yeah, so in 2019, I got my first monthly client where it's not one thing, where it's a monthly agency client, and since then now we grew to 16 full-time team members in the agency, and right now we are a proper agency. Now we actually have delivered great results, in the past 2.5 years for the current clients. For the new clients, we are in some cases, when you can fix a lot of things, when you have broken accounts where there's a lot of untapped potential, we know how to tap that potential. There's no secrets, there's no magic. It's all the same thing, fundamentals. But if you do everything by the book, you do get great results. So that's my journey. Started 7 years ago. 3 years ago, started the service business, and since then, I am, my full time, my full 100% focus is on the Amazon accounts management. Now on the agency, obviously, but yeah.
Amazing.
Very impressive. Very impressive.
Thank you.
So, so you have been selling you on your own accounts also?
No. So
Your
yeah,
accounts for your clients and
yeah. So the main thing is, I believe in Amazon. Then my decision was to only focus on the service side of the things, only on the account management. Uh, I'm not a product developer. I know nothing about, well, obviously now a bit more, but really I don't know a lot about sourcing, about product development, about what you need to create that amazing product and how to source it, all the relationship managements with China and logistics. These are the things that just don't stick to me no matter what. And I believe in the focus where when you decide on the direction that you're going to, uh, you have to stick to it when you're building something. When you have a built-in business that's running on autopilot and it's growing on itself, yeah, then you can kind of shift your own personal focus to other things. So we haven't started selling as an agency because we are the best, in I guess our country or our field. We are really good at what we do. So our best abilities are within account management and running an Amazon business, a private label business. There's a lot more than just the account management. So my decision was to rather pick partners, manufacturers, brand owners, private label brand owners, that have the other skill sets that we don't have. And with this partnership, with this combination, then you have the winning team, which results in a successful business.
right,
All
right.
right. So, gentlemen, if I may, because I've got a question for Cladis.
Okay.
Cladis, what I'm interested in that, as you mentioned, you're focusing on client management. So, what's the one thing that you hear a lot, and what's the one thing that clients are always asking about, or what's the one service that's in demand? Uh, and can you tell me about that?
Yeah. So uh, mainly what we see, not necessarily what clients are asking for, because what clients are usually, or potential clients usually are asking for, is PPC management. Like,
Yeah.
and we as
Yeah.
an agency, we're not just a PPC management agency. We don't brand ourselves as PPC managers. And what we see that they don't need a PPC manager agency, they need a full service agency. Usually,
All right.
the majority of the cases of people that coming to us, they themselves act as the strategist, as the account executives. They act as the
Yeah, yeah,
technical
yeah, that's correct.
engineers. And what we see, uh, when we have the ability as an agency to make sure that their whole account is done by the book, which is to say
Hmm.
that all the fundamentals are correctly kind of fixed and done, then we have much better performance with advertising. And
So,
advertising and the other account KPIs, they're connected they're connected.
Yeah. So to better understand, can you walk me through, like, for example, if I'm your client, I'm
Mhm.
approaching you for PPC management, but as you say, like, I shouldn't consider myself the expert. It should be you who are the expert. So can you walk me through, like, what you do first? Do you do an audit, and how does it work? I need to know
So
that.
the way the process usually goes is when the client reaches potential client reaches out to us, we go through the initial interview. So we interview the
All right.
client. I try to understand as much as possible about their business case, about their story, about their business case, about them as an entrepreneur themselves. Because it's a relationship. It will be in a relationship, and if we sign a contract, there's a lot of commitment going on. So the first interview, we try to understand the client, their brand, and the problems they think they're facing.
All
Uh,
right.
the next step after if we have a good kind of connection per se, right? If we
Yeah.
see that
Yeah.
that client is a potential fit, they see us as a potential fit, then we're connected to the account with view kind of rights, and we, me, myself, and my top account executives, we go
All
through
right.
pretty much every single thing in the account that we can, like from business
Okay.
reports, from backend search terms, the backend filters, to the infographic. We have a specialist that really has a good eye for the whole content thing, the SEO thing. We go through the advertising, and we try to find problems with that account. We try to find the low hanging fruits. And if we see that there are, problems here, things are not finished here, things are not finished here, there's no structure when advertising, their ACOS is too high, their ACOS is too low, right? If we see glaring problems that we know we can fix, right, in the multiple areas, we take that client up. If we see that everything is pretty much done well, they have a solid structure, and they want us to double triple their sales, then they come to us, and we say, like, it's not going to happen. Your product doesn't have that potential. You're doing everything right. You have a good solid structure. My advice is continue with that solid structure. Find a VA that can help you facilitate that current structure, that you're going to grow, and you're going to grow on yourself with the natural cause, with the natural kind of flow of the traffic, for your niche. So that second step is incredibly important. The audit of the account. We don't do the audit of the account with the client. It's more something that takes a bit more time. We go through ourselves. The audit is for us to understand whether we can actually improve of that account or not. And this is the major, I think, mistake that other agency owners, or I guess virtual assistants, do, is it's all about the expectations and what you can deliver. So if the client comes to us with when their goal is to grow, they have expectations for growth, this is something we have to facilitate in before we sign anything. If the client's
All right.
expectations are to be maintained, it's an entirely different thing, right?
Right.
So that's usually the process. And if everything fits us, then we send out the contract, we sign a contract, and we start working.
Right.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for
Right.
that
What
explanation.
are the some mistakes? Can you tell our viewers what people do, major mistakes, when their accounts are not going that way as they should be? Like they didn't select the product right way, or maybe there is a difference between their profit margins, and they don't have good profit margins there, and sourcing is not good, or what happens usually?
So it's hard to say what usually is wrong, as usually like two or three things are kind of not well done, unless
Right.
they are some sort of community like Titan Network, or they bought a super expensive course where they went through everything, and they are the Amazon romantic private label seller, right? So if they are, probably they have like small tips and tricks fixed up, but not the tactics, right? So the main things that we look at in the advertising, is there structure with the campaigns? Is there a good naming structure? Is there a proper campaign organizational structure? How do they grow their advertising? Like, how do you grow that structure that they're currently using? If they don't have a system for growth of their advertising, new campaigns, new keywords of their advertising expansion, that's a glaring, well, not red flag, but that's a glaring flag that this is something that has to be implemented. Then if we're going to the back end, right, to the metadata, the things that we as sellers can influence, right? So we go over, are they using appropriate browse tree guide filters or quality dashboard filters? Is their backend Are their backend search terms correctly done, right? We take a look at that, and usually there are problems there. The front end, this is something that, if they have that Amazon knowledge, most likely their infographics, their A+ content is going to be good enough. Not perfect, because very few sellers can, spend 4 or 3 or 10 grand on the product detail page. But that's actually how much it costs to get it, like the maximum kind of conversion or the maximum quality that the more bigger brands do, right? So usually the infographics are fine, and then it's all about the seller board. So this is seller board is the tool that we use for every single client, and this is the tool that we usually ask our potential leads to kind of put things in. We give you have the link with like 2 months free. So I do suggest them start using it. They start using it. The data is there, and we kind of analyze their profitability. We analyze their profitability, and we see how sustainable that business is, and how much can we grow it with advertising with a proper structure versus what their profit margins are. If they have low profit margins and their advertising ACOS will need to increase, that's a problem where it might not be a long-term project. And we as an agency, we don't have the capacity, or we don't really want to take on projects for 3 months, for 6 months. We're looking for 3, 5 years when the seller will exit the business. So we have to make sure that their current products or current brand has a profitability for growth, or has a profitability for their expectations, what they think that brand can do. And if they're operating at 10% profit margins, not at the launch stage, and if they're let's say doing 50 or 100K a month and they have 10% profit margins, most likely they don't have that growth potential, or they don't have the growth money. If they are, majority of our clients, they have brands outside of Amazon, they have cash flow outside of Amazon, and for them Amazon is just like one of the channels that they see a lot of potential in, but they're not reaching that potential. If they have current cash flow, we talk through their profitability. We try to understand what does it consist of currently, what are their plans to improve it, and what's their long-term 12 months, 24 months goal for their profit margins, for their revenue, for their kind of profit of
Right.
itself.
Right. Clydes,
Right.
do you have any case studies, result of these case studies, like in which niche you have the most cases that product not sells well, or or in which niches products or some brands, if you build, it will go well, or you have some kind of niche specified things, like if a client comes to you, he's working in a niche which is not good in your view or product, and then you suggest him to change or switch the niche or the product. What you do usually, and which niches are not good really on Amazon private label? Maybe there is some type of data you have.
So in this case, we don't really, if a potential client comes to me and they're, selling products that we don't really want to work with, I don't tell them, go and change your products. We just don't accept them as a client. But from my experience, first of all, textiles, like we just say no to textiles, like clothes, hats, shoes, bags,
Okay.
backpacks. We just say no to that. It's a different game out there, different profit margins, different return. Like it's just crazy. Like as a service provider, I have worked with textiles quite a lot, and I can say that I'm not a fan. So we decided as an agency just not to kind of work with that particular field. If we're talking categories, which are the best, which are the worst, the thing is, what we see, it's not about the category, it's about the brand itself, right? We're selling phone cases and we're doing 3K a month phone cases, but we have clients selling phone cases where their brand doesn't have that potential to even kind of reach 7 figures a year. So it's not about the category of itself. It's mainly, does your brand in a competitive category, if it's in a if a competitive category, does your brand have the backbone to support the competition, like to support the traffic and your to kind of face the competition? Are you working with influencers? Do you have outside channels, right? If you're, if you're a private label seller, you created some phone case brand and you're gonna start selling them on Amazon, most likely that's wrong move. It shouldn't be your first channel. You should be starting on Shopify, doing a lot of influencers and growing on Shopify, where you have much, much less competition. And Amazon should be the step when you already have brand presence, right? If you're selling toys, it's an amazing category. If you're selling toys, the potential is huge. But if you're selling a Me Too product, if you're selling a toy where you have a specific keyword for that toy, and you go into the search results and you see 10 same toys, don't go there. Toys
Right.
is not something where you should be competing as a normal private label seller. You should be competing. You shouldn't be even competing. Your competition should be generally other toys, right? You can pick a category, whether they're outside toys, whether they're, desk toys like fidgets and stuff, whether they're, collectible toys, but you should create something new, something that when you differentiate enough, you're not, when you put, next to your competition, your product just stands out, right? You shouldn't be selling, I don't know, what's the throw rings,
Pop-up
right?
light things now.
Pop-up plan, right?
Yeah.
So what it is that if you have a new product, then you have that potential on Amazon. Because right now, selling on Amazon, it's the hardest it ever was. It really is difficult. It's no longer a I saved up a couple of $1,000 and I'm gonna start a business. It doesn't work like that anymore. Now you actually have to treat it like a proper business. Open up a restaurant. When you're going to be profitable and how much money you're going to need for a restaurant, right? Amazon these days, it's simple. You have to create something new, something unique, if you really want to build, a multi-million-dollar brand. Yes, the private label model works, finding the niche, differentiating a little bit, and there are still a lot of untapped niches. But the problem I see with the majority of potential clients that come to me is that they're not selecting those untapped niches. They're selecting the popular niches where they're just another Me Too product that will have extremely expensive cost per click. They're going to have really low profit margins, and their potential is just generally very low. And we don't take on these clients because it's just another hassle for us and for the clients, and it won't be a win-win situation, right?
Right. So I understand it's all about money, how much money you have to push your business and compete where you. So
I mean, we actually have clients that one of my most favorite cases. It's a product that's like, well, they had like 3 or 4 products. Now it's mainly just one product variations. They were doing 50K a month in revenue in 2020. Like the beginning 5 or 6 months, they were doing like 45, 60K a month with no advertising on Amazon at all. They did have some PR outside of Amazon, but their product was generally just something so interesting that when the Amazon kind of pushed it a little bit, people started buying it without no advertising. So, you don't necessarily need a lot of money, but for that product to be created, they spend tens of thousands of dollars for research and development, which is something to keep in mind. Even though they didn't advertise on Amazon, we started advertising, and kind of the first month we started advertising, the sales kind of doubled from 50K to 100K, 30K extra profit a month, right? We started advertising, we fixed some issues, we kind of fixed some metadata foundations. And last year we did $20 million with that one product, right? This year, hopefully we're going to do 40 million, but it's still a bit early to kind of get the numbers. But the thing was that their product was unique, was patented, and it was something new in the market, even if it's one of the most competitive categories on Amazon, right? So it's not necessarily
money
about,
and creativity, right?
yeah.
Okay.
You don't not necessarily need a lot of money for advertising if you have a great product. but great product. Like that's the key.
So Claytis, if I may ask you that, are you a fan of auto campaigns or manual campaigns? What do you prefer?
So obviously, I mean both. But
Yeah,
the thing is that the auto campaigns, they're not the same as they used to be, 2016, 17. Now
yeah,
we use auto campaigns like in the launch phase. The time we launch an auto campaign is after the initial product mapping phase, like the keyword mapping phase, when the product already has indexed with the exact match keywords and is already being shown under your top competitors, which means that Amazon understood what the product is, and we see on Cerebro that kind of the algorithm kind of places the product in the similar good keywords. Then we launch a really aggressive auto campaign for like a couple of days to verify that we correctly mapped it out. And during our kind of normal advertising structure that we're building, auto campaigns, they do play a role. If we're not using software that limits us in terms of the campaign creation, we try to separate and we don't go overboard with it, because usually we have all these tools like Healing Sense Cerebro, the data dive tools. My team loves the data dive tools, right? So we have a lot of tools right now that help us identify the top keywords where you should be trying to rank.
yeah,
And we
yeah,
do focus a lot on the exact match. And once we have good ranking, we go for the broad for the phrase. And the auto campaign is just there to give us an additional trickle of not necessarily very profitable sales, but they give us a trickle of information, of new
yeah,
ideas that we haven't thought of before, and of new keywords and products coming up, right? So we actually, I think in several of our biggest brand cases, we discovered a few ASINs that were new to the market, but they immediately started with a lot of traffic. Like,
yeah,
when they go on
yeah,
influencer launches, when it's not necessarily an Amazon specific product, maybe a big brand like Mattel is launching something, right? Uh, and our auto campaign kind of piggybacked on that traffic, and we started targeting that product, and it generated us thousands of dollars in additional sales and revenue. And we obviously moved that ASIN from the auto campaign to the ASIN targeting campaign. So it gives us the trickle of data, but we can't rely on auto campaigns to, it's not 2015 when you could just launch an auto
yeah,
campaign
yeah,
and magically happen.
yeah. Sure,
Right.
sure, sure. Thanks, thanks. I've got a question for you. I was going through your website, amzbees.com, and I was just trawling through business development service that you provide. And there it was mentioned US UX analysis and implementation. So basically, it's user interface
User
analysis and implementation. But I've never seen this mentioned anywhere else in any other website. So can you walk me through what
so
exactly this service is?
so I think it's just the wording that sticks out.
Yeah,
Uh, Mainly,
yeah,
so what my top account executive, well, she's the head of our strategy department. She worked for 10 years for some of the biggest banks and telecom companies in my country, managing 30, 40 people, teams of programmers and designers for their e-commerce, for the biggest banks' e-commerce sites. And she has an incredible eye, and every single client that comes to us goes through her kind of analysis. This is for the front end. This is for the listing copy. This is for the A+ content. This is for the infographics for the storefronts. And we work with the Zon Photo Agency. They're great Latin
right.
guys. They have a long wait times, but the team lead, she manages to kind of, in cooperation with the professional agency that kind of does the infographics, we managed to create very high converting infographics and A+ content that just fits to the consumer, right? Our specialist, like, she has the ability to see how the kind of listing and the product detail page looks from the consumer standpoint. Because when I look at the listing now, my view, it's a bit, I can say it's flawed, right? All of the specialists view it's a bit different, because we're looking at it as sellers. We're looking at the small things. The key is to look at the product detail page as a customer without any
Yeah,
biases, because we as experts, we have a lot of biases, right? We look at a lot of small things, but you have to look at the whole picture. And this is something that I think is also a key in the success that we had, is that before we go all in on advertising, we make sure that the user experience, even though we can't control a lot of things, but we make sure that the user has, the easiest and best possible experience on the product detail page, with the infographic, with the A+ content, with the content that we have there, from the title to bullet points. We do think that the customers do read them, at least the way we have it written. So I think that's one of the keys why we had that success, because we make sure the foundation, which is your foundation is your product detail page. If that's built correctly,
Yep.
then the advertising and everything is going to have much, much more success than just generally, normally.
True, true, true. Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So, Clytus, thank you very much sharing your knowledge here and your expertise. Can you tell us how could you help us, like people who have their accounts here, or what is the requirement to get some engagement with you regarding our accounts? How you do that? How you see the accounts? How you get the information? What we can do, and what are your what you charge usually for account management?
So we do have a requirement that we usually take on accounts that are doing at least $30,000 to $50,000 per month in revenue, and
Okay.
we do hope that those accounts are already profitable. The easiest way is just go to our website, fill in the application. We do have usually 1 or 2 months of wait time, because we really kind of make sure that the workload that we kind of manage is maintaining the quality. So that's the easiest way to kind of get in touch. And if we look at your application, if you're a brand, then everything fits our criteria, where we are sure we can help you, then we'll reach out for the call, and we're gonna kind of move on. Our services, like the price, just really depends on the account. Uh, it's usually we find we're not the most expensive, but we're absolutely not the cheapest, because the main focus, we're a small team, and one account executive, like, we manage 4 to 5 accounts. So we don't have a lot of capacity, but something that we do keep in, something that I try to do is to focus mainly on the quality versus quantity, right? So we can't take on everyone that would be great, obviously, but we have to really have a strong selection process for
Yeah.
the partnerships that we enter into, the same way as we select the team members that join our team, that work in our office, that we have to train. It's a very long process for us to kind of hire someone, but at the end of the day, like, it's all worth it, and we find that we can kind of deliver the best possible service for your accounts potentially. What your brand can get and do, we know what needs to be done to get you there. It's all about the opportunity, the potential that the brand actually has.
Okay,
Right.
so I've got a question for you, Claytus. Can we increase profits by 500% in months?
So you're probably referring to one of my case studies, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm not sure which case study that is, but in one of the case studies,
But what should we focus on to increase our profits? Like, should we focus on increasing per unit profits? Should we focus on reducing the dependency on PPC? Or what
so
should be our focus on?
what we found is it's all about traffic. So something that helps us a lot in the high volume products, if we have high volume, this is the key. For us to get better profitability for a certain amount of time, it's lightning deals. Because the difference between lightning deals and 70 deals, lightning deals are for traffic, 70 deals are for conversion, for current traffic. So with lightning deals, we see that products that aren't necessarily incredibly niche, right? So they have a broader audience, and they already have very strong traffic, which means from 200,000 to 1 million sessions per month, right? So good, really good, strong traffic. If we do weekly lightning deals, we are getting on the first page of the lightning deals page, or at least in the first page of our lightning deal category page, and we're getting free traffic from there, which means it's not advertisable traffic. And for the 15% discount, it's a 15% ACOS. And what we find is that our profitability, we do a lightning deal and our profitability stays the same, if not better. Well, in a lot of cases, our ACOS kind of ranges to 15 to 20% for the high volume products. Is, run lightning deals, right? If you get to the first pages with your high volume products, then your profitability is going to maintain or is going to be higher if your ACOS is, like 30, 40%, 15% for a deal for that additional traffic for, the turning of the flywheel, it's worth it. And it actually increases the organic sales, because the people that checked your product didn't buy during the lightning deal. They might not be that concerned about the timing or your deal. We find that the lightning deal has an after effect for about a week or 2 weeks where our organic sales are higher. Something to also keep in mind for the profitability is where you focus your advertising and where you look at your metrics. So if your main focus is the ACOS or TACOS, right? So you're looking at the advertising overall, and you try to get your ACOS as low as possible, finding the keywords that are the most profitable. And we find a problem with this where you over focus on advertising, the micromanaging, and your advertising targeting starts cannibalizing your organic sales, where you don't necessarily need to be in the first spots of the top of the page when you're ranking number one in a small keyword, and you're ranking there strongly, and you have hundreds and thousands of these types of keywords. We find that it's better to kind of get your bids way down to where your organic position is the number one they see, and your advertising is somewhere in the middle. Then you're recapturing the customers that kind of didn't click on your organic kind of product, your organic listing. They clicked, then they go down and they click on your advertising. So cannibalization of organic sales for the PPC, it's something that we really see on sellers that really over focus on advertising, or they work with an only advertising agency where the main motive for the agency and the main kind of the agency is getting paid based on the advertising results, not based on overall results. So something we do to increase the profitability is lowering advertising sales on the cannibalizing keywords, sometimes even branded keywords. We have a brand where when we took them on, we found that they were spending about $10,000 to $15,000 a month on branded keywords. It's a lot of product. We had like 12,000 products for that one brand. And they were spending a lot of money for the branded keywords, and we found that it doesn't make sense. We're starting to just keep they increased the bids because they saw good performance, wishing for better performance. And what happened is that they generally started paying tripled and quadrupled the price on their branded keywords. And their brand is really strong. So what we did, we really kind of just cut that budget in half, really, like something like that. And the branded searchability, it was fine. The organic sales increased by, well, a similar amount actually, and the advertising ACOS also kind of lowered. The profitability was up. And after I think it's been a year and around a month from this case, we don't have any problems with increasing brand awareness. We don't have any problems with competitors kind of still advertising on our brands. We still have the spots, but just for half the price. So over advertising, that's something that we find really helps the profitability.
Thanks a lot.
We have a lot. There's a lot of engagement in this group. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I think you're muted.
Yeah, it is. Sarab, mute.
Sorry, I was I forgot to unmute
Yeah.
myself. So I was talking with you. So thank you very much for coming and providing such good tips. And hopefully we will see you again here with some case studies and which will be useful our huge community. Lots of here are sellers and service providers, so they will get some pro tips from you, and hopefully most some of them may contact you regarding your services and something
Sure.
like that. So
I,
we'll
I
see
would,
you.
I would
We're happy you are here, and thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I suggest generally, follow me on LinkedIn. I usually spend a lot of my time communicating there, so follow me there. You can shoot me a message, and yeah, thank you for having me.
Okay.
Most welcome.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.